I'm Mike Nathanson, and this is The Rambling Architect. Today I want to talk about the unique opportunity we have as architects to shape the built environment of the 21st century. But let's first look at the 20th century. Here's a time-lapse video of the Shinjuku district in Tokyo over 35 years. All the modern cities we see in the world today, from Shanghai to Los Angeles, are to a large extent products of 20th century modern architecture. So when we think about the incredible transformation of architecture in the 20th century, we know that it's really the result of two things. Architects had opportunities as well as challenges. So on the one hand, you had new materials such as reinforced concrete, glass, and steel, as well as new technologies like elevators and air conditioning. On the other hand, you had working class people moving into cities in large numbers for work, and they needed housing with adequate space, lighting, fresh air, and so on. So architects had to deal with this new problem of mechanization and how it affects society. But at the same time, they had the opportunity to use these new technologies and new materials to design new buildings and even new kinds of buildings that never existed before. At the same time, they had to figure out how to meet the housing demands of the new era. So what did they do? How did architects approach these new and unfamiliar challenges? How did they produce what resulted in one of the most creative periods in architecture history? The answer is that they looked outside the field of architecture. One of the most famous examples is Le Corbusier, who in his book Toward a New Architecture looked at grain silos, ships, airplanes, and cars as examples of what architecture should not just look like, but actually be like in the 20th century. Le Corbusier was also famously interested in city planning and the challenge of rapidly housing hundreds of thousands of working class people in apartments with adequate space, lighting, and fresh air. And the result of this new perspective on architecture was all the modern cities we see in the world today. Not only that, but also to a large extent, modern architecture helped shape the modern man and modern woman, for good or for ill. So it's clear that if we want our buildings and our cities to meet the challenges of the 21st century, of rapid urbanization, economic inequality, social unrest, environmental degradation, and so on, we have to adopt a similar approach. We have to look outside the field of architecture for inspiration and solutions. Obviously, we have to harness the possibilities of new construction materials, novel manufacturing techniques such as 3D printing, and also new digital tools for design. But we also have to seriously take into account during the design process the factors that to a large extent define society in the 21st century. Factors such as rapid communication and mobility, automation, instant access to information, and exponential growth in technological innovation. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have to take advantage of the many advances in fields that help us better understand the world and better understand the human condition. Fields such as chemistry, evolutionary biology, economics, sociology, psychology, and so on. There have been significant advances in all these fields in the past few decades, advances that can inform architectural design in meaningful ways. So this is where we are now. 21st century architecture will be defined by our ability as architects to understand the challenges society is facing, take advantage of the opportunities we have, and reimagine the kind of spaces and cities we want to inhabit and the kind of society we want to have. So this is what I'll talk about in the following videos. In the meantime, please join the conversation, comment on the video, subscribe to this channel. Until next time, this is The Rambling Architect.